Hey. Welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in with me today. This is your girl, Kasthebestie here. We're here to do a live video for you. I do have some information to share with you guys today. We're going to be talking about mind, body, and soul connection and how the connection between psychology and spirituality can better affect your life. So I just want to wait a little bit before I start and give some people some time to get in here. And if you guys are interested, I do want to let you guys know I do appreciate you guys so much for being interested and being on our journey with us so we can heal our hearts and be the best versions of ourselves and reach our highest versions of ourselves. So thank you guys so much for tuning in with me today. I do have a place for you guys to support me. If you guys are interested in sending any support, please feel free to send me any emails. My email is kasthebestie@gmail.com. Any donations and support, you can send those to the above. Kasthebestie for Cash App is Kasthebestie. But a few more minutes and we'll get started. So thank you guys so much. I want you guys to see how I did my hair today. I did a different look and I'm outside. I'm actually over by the restaurant Bosa in Haverhill. See, I love this area because it's like you can get the sun, you can get good fresh air. I'm by the river, so I have time so that I can just, get that fresh, cool air before we get started talking about raising our vibrations and things like that. And I do want to say a special shout out to Wicked Big Cafe, because Wicked Big Cafe has the best smoothies, I swear, in Haverhill. Welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in. And also the recap will be on YouTube, so if you guys are interested in looking at the recap, feel free to subscribe to me on YouTube, Kasthebestie. Send me like this video up, like the video on YouTube, like it everywhere, and share with your friends so that you guys can also get into the discussion, because I love to get different perspectives from other people. So, and I know in the last videos I've been having a problem with the salivating of my mouth. So I'm just really trying this time not to have any saliva fall out my mouth. I just promise you. I'm just gonna take a sip if I need to. All right, so we can get started. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is how the mind, the body, and the soul are connected. See, it's kind of like a holy trinity if you think of it in the perspective of God. God has himself, God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, mind, body, soul. Those are three things that you can connect to each other that are in the same categories that people really don't actually connect. So a lot of times we go through things that are mental. They're mental diagnoses from doctors that we typically take and we use them as things that are hindering us versus superpowers that we have to show ourselves where we're going in the future. For example, right? Psychology studies thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and the subconscious. It explores how early life experiences, trauma, conditioning, and perception shape your mental patterns. The mind is the bridge between your spiritual essence and physical essence. So your psychological state influences your physical health and your ability to connect spiritually. For example, if you're healing emotional trauma, it often leads to physical and spiritual relief. So when you use psychology to go with your spirituality, you'll be able to better work through things, because there's some things that are actually made to be a certain way so it can help you be a better person versus just to bring you down. And then we have spirituality. Spirituality is the awareness of a higher self or a consciousness beyond the ego. It involves intuition, energy, connection, and the divine or universe, and seeking purpose. It transcends time, space, and yet uses the mind and body to express itself in the 3D world. So the connection there would be spiritual awakenings can trigger psychological shifts such as an ego death, healing cycles, or even bodily symptoms such as kundalini, fatigue, tingles. Inner peace from spiritual alignment also reduces psychological stress and improves bodily health. So when you take your spirituality and your psychology that you're using that you can flourish in the world, and you use that to your advantage, you no longer have to worry about the pains of things that are going on, because you will be able to make sense of it. Sometimes we don't understand how to work through things because we can't make sense of it. So when you use spirituality to make psychology make sense, it'll make it so much easier for you. So for an example, they say like You know that people go through times where they feel like they just want to, like, you know, off themselves. And I've had those times for myself also. But sometimes we have to go through an ego death, which is just a death to who we used to be. It's a death to our old self so that we can become a better version of ourselves. See, it doesn't have to be physical. It can be done spiritually so that you can become that version, so that you can let go of that pain that you were harping on to. So let's get on to the 3D form. The 3D is the physical dimension of reality. The material world senses time and space. Your body is the vehicle which your mind and your spirit operate. It reflects in imbalances or harmony from both your psyche and your energy field. So pretty much any unhealed emotions and spiritual disconnect that often manifest as a physical illness. Conversely, embodiment practices, movement, breathwork, grounding can help clear mental and spiritual blockages. So, you know, have you ever gotten to the point like you've been so stressed out and you just got a headache? That is because you're using your stress is not being addressed in the other ways. You need to be able to address it on each level. Sometimes, okay, maybe it's not something physically that's happening to us, but if it's not something physically, maybe it's something that is psychologically happening to us. And if it's not that, it could be something that's spiritual happening to us. Our mind is the driver. The spirit that we have within us is the GPS and the sole purpose. And then our body is the vehicle. So we use our body and our mind to get places where we need to go. And our spirit is what guides us. So when you use it in this analogy, it makes things so much easier because you'll realize that you won't have to worry so much. Oh my God, there's a bee, 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 there's a bee. Oh my goodness. See, the thing is, I like being outside, but I'm scared to be so deathly. But you know what? I've been stung multiple times in life, so I'll get through it if I do. Anyway, back to it. So we're going to bridge the 3. Embodiment. Grounding spirituality through body-based practices like yoga, dancing, and breathwork can unite all 3 aspects of mind, body, and soul. So once you get flowing, you'll be able to move that energy that you have built up within yourself, and you'll be able to actually express it in a way that's not harmful to you. Because a lot of the times we body up our feelings, we body up these emotions, we body up these things that we really supposed to be getting out, and we're not able to express it in the way that we should. So make sure that you're moving your body so that you can express yourself in the way and you're not harboring anything deep inside. So 1, there's a thing that I've noticed, that there's a lot of misdiagnosis in spiritual experiences. So there's many people who actually go through spiritual awakenings, or they get gifts and they're seen as what they're not really supposed to be, because people don't have that they don't have that expansion in their mind quite yet to see that that can be something in relation to what they're going through. So for example, there are spiritual gifts that you can get after you go through a spiritual awakening, like heightened intuition, hearing voices, vivid dreams, or sudden ego death. They can mirror symptoms found in medical diagnoses. So for one example, we have bipolar disorder. So bipolar disorder and manic states versus spiritual ecstasy or inspiration. So those things can be seen as similar things. Sometimes you are going through these things, but you have to be able to better have control over your own mind versus other people or other things having control over you. If you take advantage of it and you know that, hey, from this, I get spiritual ecstasy, I get inspiration, then you'll be able to use your bipolar disorder for your advantage versus people using it to villainize you or keep you held back. Another thing is schizophrenia. So a lot of people they'll be getting spiritual visions, so they'll hear things and they think that they're crazy, but the whole time it could really be the Holy Spirit talking to you. You could be getting confirmation from other worldly things. We're not the only people here. We're in different levels of consciousness. So right now we're on the 3D level. Above that, there's 4D and there's 5D. 5D is where the spirituality is going on. It's the stuff that's happening where you cannot see it with your physical eyes. That's what you see with your third eye. So, for an example, we also have depersonalization or derealization. That's awakening from an ego death or realizing life is an illusion. So sometimes we'll go through things and we'll be like, wow, when did I get here? When did this happen? How did I get my life this fast? That's because we're going through an experience where we kill our ego, and now we're starting over as a new person. We don't even know who we are anymore. And I can say to you, about last year, I actually went through the same type of experience. I was so deep inside of what do they call it? I was having imposter syndrome so badly, and it's because I always felt like I was bigger than the area that I'm in, but I always felt so small, and I felt like I always had to keep myself so small because I wanted to make sure I fit in with the people who were around me. But then I found out that sometimes you don't have to make yourself fit in. Sometimes you just need to go find a new space to go put yourself in so that you can expand and be that version of yourself. So you can be the biggest version of yourself. You don't have to be small. You don't have to play small. You don't have to play anybody's type of game because this is your life. The way you want to live your life is the way you want to live your life. Just the way that I got dressed today. It's a random day. It's Tuesday. I got dressed. I did my hair. I did my makeup. And I took a walk. I got a smoothie. And I'm enjoying my day. I'm out in the sun. I'm on TikTok, and I'm telling you guys about how you can connect spirituality to mental disorders. You see, these are things that you can do in life that when you just live your life. But if you're too focused about what other people think or what other people want you to have, then you're going to be more unhappy. You can have things and be happy, but you can also not have things and be happy. And that's something we have to always understand. All right, so mind you, I do want to let you guys know, not all spiritual experiences are not all spiritual experiences are mental illnesses, but without proper guidance, spiritual crises can become a psychological crisis. Sometimes we will get too much into our spirituality. We have to make sure we're balancing our spirituality also with our 3D, because if we get too much in the clouds, we're going to be too above everybody else. There's a really big difference between being deep in your spirituality and then also being on earth, because you can't just be in your spirituality. People are going to think you're crazy. But when you learn how to balance between the both of them, you'll be able to better let other people know, hey, this is what's going on. Some people just are not aware. They don't have that consciousness just yet, and we're all on our own journeys. Delilah, I'm so sorry, Bookie. I did not see you. I promise you I didn't. But I will be heading back over there later, so I'll see you. All right, so we got the next step would be spiritual awakening and psychological breakthrough. So some spiritual teachers view mental crises as spiritual breakdowns to break through. So like they just said, sometimes you have to break down in order for you to get a breakthrough. Sometimes you need to take all the things away that are stopping you from getting to the point that you need to get to, so that you could build yourself back up, so that you could be the best version of you. So sometimes depression may signal a soul disconnection. So there's something between you, your mind, your body, and your soul that are not connected. Anxiety also may indicate energy overload or intuitive suppression. So energy overload is, for example, you just feel so worked up. You got like a lot going on inside yourself. You don't know how to get this energy out, or you feel like there's a lot going on and you're feeling feelings, but you don't understand where these feelings are coming from. Sometimes they're not your feelings. Sometimes they're other people's feelings being projected onto you, and you just feel them. When you're hypersensitive to people's energy and you don't recognize it, it can come off as anxiety. And then we also have intuitive suppression. So you can get anxiety when you are suppressing how you really want to live, suppressing how you really feel in order to make other people feel better about themselves. So, for example, like say if you're in a relationship with somebody and you know that if you say something like this, it might make them upset. You not saying what you want to say because you're trying to save the peace is going to give you anxiety, and that will come through as overload of energy. Another thing would be psychosis. So psychosis could actually be a spiritual emergency without grounding or support. So that's like when you're too far in the 5D, when you're too far in your spirituality and you're not connecting your spirituality with your body. Because when you're just up in the air, you're too high above where anybody else can see. They're not seeing the perspective that you have. So when you do that, you have to make sure you bring yourself down. You have to also make sure you're grounding yourself, because if you get too caught up in it, it becomes a point where people are thinking you're having a mental breakdown, and you might just be. But if you don't ground yourself, go out into nature, go and meet other people, talk to other people so that you can get some interaction with others, then you'll be able to remember, hey, I'm not just a spiritual being, I'm also here on earth. I also have to experience this the correct way. So you're supposed to incorporate it, but not make it your whole life. And then they also say, it says in Jungian psychology, they say the process of Individuation, a journey of integrating the unconscious soul with the conscious ego. So your conscious ego is what you got going on the outside, the things that you have pretty much built up through your life. The people who you've built up around you, those are people who you built to support your ego. Once you connect your soul to it, you kind of kill that ego, but you leave your soul. So then you have that good connection. So you don't feel like you're doing anything that is outside of your realm. All right, then we have trauma, energy, and soul loss. So many mental health challenges are rooted in unhealed trauma, which can cause soul fragmentation and an energetic imbalance. Spiritual practices like inner child healing, astral work, chakra balancing, energy clearing can bring brief relief where traditional therapy falls short, or work in powerful harmony with it. So one thing I recognize as I've been on my journey is I've had to learn and heal through my past traumas. Before I started getting into my spirituality, I used therapy to heal through my childhood traumas. But it did get to a point that it felt deeper than that. It felt like something was completely missing. Even though I was talking about these things, I still felt sad because I felt disconnected to who I was as a child. I felt disconnected from who I am truly as a person. So therapy helped me recognize the fact that I was harboring all these things suppressed down deep inside. And then spirituality actually helped me recognize the fact that I don't have to any longer resonate with these things. I can use positive things to counteract these problems that I'm going through. And then also I can use spirituality to guide me in the direction away from the pain that I was feeling. So there's also things like holistic approaches. So more therapists and psychologists now recognize the value of spiritual integration in mental health, including mindfulness and meditation, past life regression therapy, somatic healing, and breath work, psychedelic therapy in clinical settings, of course. And these things can help you. If you're going to go more towards the spiritual method and you're only by yourself and you don't want to have to do too much, you can go towards that, just being mindful in meditation. Because when you take the time, you're being intentional about the things that you're doing, you're thinking about the things that are going on in your head, you can actually work through these things and you can breathe and understand that these things are only for the moment. These are only things that are going to be lasting for now. There's so many things that we've gone through as a kid that we can think about it right now, we can laugh about it. But back then it was not funny. Now we can take those things and we can use it to our advantage. And that's the same way as when you're going through your holistic approaches. You want to make sure that you're addressing the problem so that you can get out of that frequency and rise above it. Because when you're in a bad frequency, you're in a low frequency, you feel sad, you feel down, raising your frequency, all you have to do is do things that are high vibing frequencies. Promoting happiness, promoting joy, and you have to figure out anything that will make you happy. Sometimes it's just a simple getting a smoothie for the day, something that'll make you feel good inside. The caution zone. So while spiritual experiences are real and sacred, some individuals need clinical help too. It's essential to be able to discern, and having discernment is very important, because sometimes if you are not in control of your body, then your feelings and your emotions, they can control you. Your feelings and your emotions are coming from your spiritual side, so you don't want that to happen. You want to be able to balance the both. So you need to be able to determine, is this a soul message or is it a psychotic break? Is this an energy overload or is it mania? Or can a therapist or a spiritual mentor be involved? So sometimes you just need to talk to other people. We cannot just be within ourselves all the time. We have to go within, but we also have to go out. We have to also find those people who will be able to better guide us and bring us those feelings that help us be able to better understand those feelings that we don't quite understand. So I wanted to tell you guys about some things that are actually that can be considered spiritual experiences. So like depression, there's a spiritual counterpart to that, and it's called the dark night of the soul. So in the dark night of the soul, it will literally look the same as a depression. You'll go through deep sadness, you'll feel emptiness, isolation, lack of interest in life. But the spiritual view is you're having a soul level purge or initiation. You're going through something where you're leaving the past version of you behind and you're coming into a new version of you. The ego is dying and you're making space for true self-realization. You're being true truthful and honest with yourself, and you're understanding, hey, whatever I'm feeling right now is because it's due to the circumstances I'm living in. So I need to change. So when you go through the dark night of the soul, it's only for you to recognize that there's something that needs to change for you. And that's why sometimes when we go through depression, they make us feel like, okay, depression is something that we have to live with for life. No, depression is something that we can work through, but we will live with it for life if we don't choose to work through it. A healing path that you can take would be to surrender, do your shadow work, spiritual support, go into solitude, and reconnect with your purpose. And I do have another video on YouTube that you can go back and look at. It is a video that tells you guys how to find your life purpose, because sometimes that's all we need. We need to actually recognize, hey, what do I feel good doing all the time? When I found my life purpose, I actually recognized that the thing that I like to do is I like to be helpful to people. I like to make people feel loved. I like people to feel happy. So that's why I always go above and beyond for people. That's why I'm so forgiving. That's why my heart is so big. Is because it's a part of my soul purpose. It's a part of my life's journey for me to be this way. So that's why now I found a way to incorporate that into my work life, so that I can make this my full life circle. I'm going to make this the whole thing that I'm going to be working towards on my life. I'm not going to let anything deter me from my path. Your path is what really makes you feel like you need to go, 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 go. Like when you're in your path, you're not going to stop. Nothing can stop you, not even if you're tired. So take a look into that video and see if you can find some information that'll help you, because when you find your soul's purpose, I promise you, it'll solve so many problems for you. It'll solve so many issues, because you'll realize, oh, well, I've been in the wrong place the whole time. I've been looking in the wrong direction the whole time. So another thing we have is anxiety and panic attacks. So a spiritual counterpart for anxiety and panic attacks would be energy awakening or intuition overload. Just as I mentioned earlier, So the similarities would be racing thoughts, fear of the unknown, and feeling unsafe or overwhelmed. So a spiritual view, you would be sensing subtle energies, absorbing others' emotions, and resisting a spiritual nudge. So when you sense subtle energies, sometimes when we go through things as children, we become empathetic, we become sensitive to other people's energies, and we're able to better feel people's feelings, even though we also have our own feelings. So we'll be sitting around somebody, and out of nowhere, we start feeling like, whoa, I feel really anxious. It might not even be you. It might be the person who you're sitting right next to. And that's why we have to be very careful, because we never know people's true intentions, and we don't know why people are making us feel the way that they're making us feel. But we have to recognize why we feel like that in the first place, because it could be something as simple as this person behind your back, they're saying something about you, or it could be as simple as this person feels insecure when they're around you. It could be things that have nothing to do with you, but it's something that you need to be aware of so that you can better move in your own life, because you don't want to be around people that you make feel uncomfortable, that you make feel small, and that's not your fault to have to deal with that. So until somebody else feels like they can do that for themselves and they can raise themselves up, you have to focus on you. We can only be there for ourselves as much as we want to be there for other people. We can only truly be there for ourselves so that we can be there for other people. So start with you. Start pouring that water into your cup first, so that when you want to go out and you want to go help somebody, you can go help them. But you have to make sure you're good first. Another thing is, a healing path that you can take would be grounding practices. So grounding, going out into nature, going into the water, getting fresh air, nervous system regulation, breath work, learning energetic boundaries. So energetic boundaries, once you realize how much energy comes from everything, you'll be able to better say, hey, I need this space in order for me to be good within myself. Sometimes it's not a matter of, oh, this person makes you feel bad about yourself or you don't like to be around that person. Sometimes it's really just the fact that you can't be around too many energies for too long. Sometimes you just have to be able to exercise your energy in a different way. And if the people who are around you are not in that same kind of mind frame, then you're not going to be able to express yourself in the way that you want to express yourself. Another thing would be, we're going to bring it back, they brought us to bipolar disorder. So a spiritual counterpart for bipolar disorder would be a kundalini rising and a spiritual high. So they say a lot of times when people go through bipolar, they go through things like mania, and it's because you go through an elevated mood, bursts of insight or creativity, and grandiose thoughts or sleeplessness. A spiritual view of that would be tapping into your higher states of consciousness without being able to ground. It'll cause you imbalance. So when you're too high up in your spiritual sense, sometimes you're just really too tapped in. Like, sometimes you have too much information being held and you're like, wow, I have all this information, but you need to make sure that you can bring that information to fruition. You need to be able to bring that information to the 3D. Bring that information that you have, that you're learning about, that you're thinking about from the 5D, bring it down to the 3D so that you can make it come into fruition, so that you can make it an actual thing instead of just talking about it. Because when you just talk about things, it really looks more of like, it looks like you're delusional because you're just talking. But if you talk and you make things happen, then you make things happen, and nobody can call you crazy if what you're doing is working, right? A healing path that you can use for that would be 1, integrating spiritual highs with everyday life and staying rooted in the body, and then also using your discernment. So integrating your spiritual highs with your everyday life would be like you using that information that you are getting and using it all the time. Like, you don't want to just, okay, I'm using my good thoughts for just to talk to people. Use it in your life. Use it so that you can do better. Use it so that you can start a business. Use it so that you can take care of yourself, do self-love. Use it so that you can inform other people. Don't just use these things just so that you can be lost. You want to make sure you're grounding yourself and you're bringing yourself also back to reality. And also, having discernment is something that you can come across once you analyze things. I feel like I learned my discernment just from analyzing. It's a gift that was given to me by God, but also it's something you have to pay attention to. Because once you gain that discernment you'll be able to determine, oh wow, this energy is not the energy that's for me, and this energy is the energy that's for me. It's not a matter of who's bad and who's good. It's just that some energies don't click with your energy. So another thing we have is disassociation and depersonalization. So the spiritual counterpart for that would be an ego death or a witness consciousness. So similarities would be feeling disconnected from reality, self, or the body. So that just means that you're disassociating. You're just not in it. You just feel like you're just here. So a spiritual view on that would be the illusion of the self is fading. You're observing life through a lens of the soul. Another thing that you can do would be some somatic practices, mindfulness, anchoring in the now, and integration with spiritual guidance. So when I've ever felt like I am just watching life pass me by, or I'm just a part of this life, I'm not really in it, I'm not actually working in the life, I'm not doing things in life, I felt like that many times in life. But when I do that, I go through those senses that I have, and I go through and I say, okay, I feel the sun on my skin. What I smell is I smell the green grass. I can touch it. I can feel my pants. I make sure I go through all of my senses to make sure that I understand that I'm here and I'm in the now. And what I'm doing now is important, so that I need to put my 100% in so that I can make sure that I'm flourishing going further. So make sure that you're grounding yourself. You're bringing yourself back, letting yourself know that right now is important. The future is important, but right now is the most important, because right now what you're doing is laying the groundwork for what you're going to be doing tomorrow. The script that you're writing right now is going to be the play that is going to be acted out tomorrow. So make sure that whatever you're doing today is what you want to be acted out tomorrow, so that you can get the goal that you're trying to achieve. All right. So then another thing that we have is schizophrenia, ESP, auditory, and visual hallucinations. So spiritual counterpart to that would be clairaudience, clairvoyance, and mediumships. I'm actually a clairaudient, clairvoyant, and I also have clairsentience. So clairsentience is when you can feel other people's emotions, and you can see through people's emotions. Like, people don't have to tell you how they feel. You know how they feel. Clairvoyance is when you can see through people without, like, you don't have, regardless if they act like this or they act like that, you know exactly who they are on the inside. That's clairvoyance. When you're clairaudient, that means that you can hear things that are not being said. So it's like you can read between the lines. People wonder why do you feel this way? Why do you feel like this is happening? Because you're either clairaudient, you're clairvoyant, or you can hear from the other side. There's spirits going all around us. If you act afraid of them, they're only going to attack you. And the only way you could be attacked is if you're in a low vibrational state. When you raise your vibration and you are in a happy state, you in that feeling of, like, just go dance. You can go vibe real quick. When you're in those energies, demons and spirits cannot attack you. The only thing that can attack you is you, if you bring yourself down. So what you could say would be a similarity to that would be hearing voices, seeing beings or symbols, or feeling watched. A spiritual view would be possible opening to other realms or spiritual communication, but without grounding and protecting, it could be destabilizing. And so, for example, of that would be grounding and protection. So if you go and you want to be into the spiritual realm and you want to do spiritual things, you have to understand that there are things that can attack you if you're not prepared. So that's the same thing as if you're going into a crack house and they're doing crack. Like if you don't do crack, they can turn you into a crackhead. Like like you can easily turn into a crackhead. It's not that difficult. So if you go into a spiritual realm where a whole bunch of spirits and there's demons and there's spirits, you want to be careful that your vibration is high enough that you're not getting sucked into that lower vibration where you're just going to get sucked into the wrong direction. So keep yourself grounded, protected. If you're going to be on the spiritual side, do protection rituals. Speak life over yourself. Do things that are going to counteract what other people do. Because, people talk down about you. What can you do? All you could do is talk good about yourself. Hey, people are going to hate you every day. People are not going to like you all the time. What can you do? So another thing you could do would be strong boundaries. So asserting boundaries, making sure you're keeping space so that sometimes we just need to understand what's our own energy. When you live your life and you're raised around a lot of people, you will come to get other people's energies mixed up with yours. So you will start acting a certain way when you're out with people. You're start doing certain stuff, but those things don't actually resonate with you. And that's just because we need to actually understand what's in our energy and what's not. Since I've been on my spiritual journey, I did have to take time to really separate myself from a lot of people, not because it was anything wrong with them, but I wanted to make sure I found myself and found what is my true identity, what is my true energy. And my true energy is loving, caring, and I am generous, and I like to help people. I like to teach people. I like to do research. I am insightful. These are all things that make up me, but sometimes when you get around other people, you might take on their traits just because they're projecting that energy onto you. You might not even be that type of person, but because you're around this person, you have to be like that so that you can protect yourself. So make sure you're maintaining those strong boundaries, and then having trained spiritual mentors. So if you're going through things like these and you feel like you're being attacked by demons and stuff like that, you can really go to other people. There's so many spiritualists out here. There's healers out here. There's people who cast out demons. There's all these type of things that you could go to connect your spirituality, your mind, body, and soul. But make sure that you're trying from all different directions. You can either try from going to get a therapist. You can get a spiritual advisor. You can also just go get a gym trainer. These are things that you can help balance all three: mind, body, and soul. And then another thing you could do is energy protection. You can get crystals and things like that. You can do you can speak life over yourself in a way that it's like you're controlling yourself. I'm in control of my energy. Anybody who has my energy, I want it back, and you can keep the people. You want to make sure that you're speaking power into yourself and you're keeping that power within yourself so that you don't let yourself get lost in anything else. So the last thing that we have would be PTSD and complex trauma. So what I actually found out since my spiritual journey is when I first started going to therapy, I was actually diagnosed with PTSD, and I was diagnosed with PTSD after pretty much living my whole life in a family where they were narcissistic. Let's just put it like that. My family was narcissistic, and I didn't realize that everybody was narcissistic, or a good amount of people, they either were narcissists or they had narcissistic traits, and I was taking on those traits, and I didn't realize it until I got in my own energy. And then once I started getting older, I started dealing with people who were narcissists. So I was getting traumatized over and over and over again, just because I didn't recognize that the people who I was around were hurting me. They weren't making my life better. They were making my life worse. So after that, I got PTSD, but then I started going in myself, and I started working through my trauma and started recognizing, hey, what things did make me feel bad about myself? What made me feel like I was stressed? What made me feel like I had anxiety? What made me feel numb? What made me feel like I was going back and being hyper vigilant? I went back and I went through all those things, and then I realized those things do not resonate with who I am now. Those things are not who I am. So I need to recognize that I can break free out of that. And that's how I move forward. I used my therapist at first, and then I started going with spiritual guidance. I actually started watching tarot, which can be good, but you have to have discernment when you're watching these things, because you don't want to make everything about yourself. You want to make sure that you are aware between the difference between somebody talking about your life and somebody talking about a situation that's in general, because we're all a part of collectives. We have all a collective energy. There's a lot of people out there who act just like you, and they're in that collective consciousness with you, but you are not aware of them because they're not in your inner circle just yet. But once you go into your full true self, you'll be able to better attract those people who are on the same timeline as you are, who are on the same vibration as you, and you will be able to understand, oh wow, there are other people who think like me. Yes, there are. There's plenty of people who think like you. And there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong. You're actually just going through your journey. And in order for you to understand these things, you have to go through the journey. Nothing that is great is made quickly. Greatness is made under pressure, under a journey, just like diamonds. So would you rather be a diamond or a rock? So a spiritual view of PTSD would be your soul carrying unprocessed pain across timelines or lifetimes, or trauma being locked in your body or distorting your energy field. So sometimes when you go through trauma, it'll distort who you are. You might be somebody else, but because you went through so much trauma, it is distorting your energy, and it's making people feel like you act a certain way when you really don't. You're just traumatized. So things like being an empath and being a narcissist, these things come from being traumatized at a young age but not working through the problems. Because when you're a narcissist, you take that pain that you went through and you continue to put it on other people, and when you're an empath, you tend to continue to be treated like that because you're wanting that love from the people who were narcissistic to you. It's really a big cycle, but once you get out that cycle, then the cycle is over. See, in order for anything to be real, a cycle must be created. So that means that if anything wants to be destroyed, what do you have to do? You have to jump out the cycle. So a healing path would be inner child work, soul retrieval, somatic therapy, and ancestral healing. Okay, since I've been on my journey, I actually figured out who I am. I actually found out that I'm a part of a royal bloodline. I'm a part of ancestry where my ancestors, they actually were royal. And that's why I feel that within myself, I have that royal ancestry within myself. I carry myself like a queen because I know from past lives I was a queen. So you know what, like when you realize who you are as a person and you actually take the time to go and grow and heal from the things you went through, you realize that you could be the best. You could be amazing, and there's nothing holding you back. So there's so many instances where you can connect your mind, your body, and your soul. So let's continue the journey of healing and recognizing these things, and we will better be able to handle it. If you're going through a dark night of the soul and you feel like you're depressed, recognize what it is that's making you feel that. What is it that needs to change to get you out of these situations? Because we're not stuck. Life is meant for changes. People are meant to heal. And once you heal from the things that you've been through, you're going to be the best version of yourself. And I cannot wait to see it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me today. It's Kasthebestie. I appreciate you guys and your donations. Thank you so much for the rose. I did see Bo. Thank you so much, Bo. Thank you for the rose. Thank you for the rose. I appreciate it so much. And any donations that you guys send, thank you so much. I appreciate it. The Cash App is there, Kasthebestie. If you guys are interested, I do have my consultations going on for my spiritual advice and also my spiritual life coaching classes. So thank you guys so much. I'm gonna go and continue to enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. If you guys do have any questions, definitely feel free to send me an email. My email is kasthebestie@gmail.com, and definitely feel free to send me a DM. I'm very chill, I'm very cool. If you guys have any questions, I'm here for you guys every step of the way. We're gonna be on this healing journey together, so let's continue. Have a great day.